Listen, I know the title says Uber Eats, but it doesn't matter what app you drive for, you need to be aware of this. What is tip baiting? Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike. This channel is dedicated to your success in this gig economy, the side hustle. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. And only a few days left to get 50% off at yourdrivermike.com. Use code Black Friday. So firstly, we're going to go over what is tip baiting. Is it actually happening? Of course, how it affects your earnings. And if you feel you've been affected by tip baiting, what you can do. And then I also want to show you a specific order on Uber Eats from this past weekend where I may have been a victim of tip baiting. So number one, what is tip baiting? Well, it's kind of what it sounds like. So on these apps, specifically the ones that show you the tip ahead of time, this is where you can be affected. So you're getting the standard calculated pay on whichever app this is, typically, let's say on Uber Eats. So you're seeing the standard calculated pay, and then included in that is the customer's expected tip. Now pay attention to this because it really especially affects Uber Eats and Instacart. Why? It's because these are the apps that lets the customer edit their tip after service. On Instacart, for example, your Instacart customers can edit their tip on that order up to 24 hours after receiving the delivery. And then conversely, customers on Uber Eats, they can edit their tip after the delivery for 1 hour. That is the official policy from these apps, and it's especially these two apps. Now, if we looked at DoorDash, your customer can edit the tip after the delivery on a DoorDash, but it's a lot more labor intensive to do so. So with tip baiting, what you'll see as a driver is something like this. We're seeing the order request screen, and again, you have your standard pay and then your expected tip. Now what's happening with tip baiting is after that service, after that delivery, that tip is removed from the customer because they're able to do that on these platforms, and it's been removed really without reason. There's nothing that you did as a driver. So I do want to show you that specific order on Uber Eats from this past weekend when I was driving, but before I do that, I want to answer or at least present a controversial question. Is tip baiting really happening? Now we're seeing this discussed across different forums on Reddit, on different driver forums, and I want to ask you if this is really a real thing, and here's why. Because number one, yes, there's absolutely, in my opinion, there's customers out there that are doing this knowingly, and they're doing it to get faster service, to get that driver assignment faster because there's a higher tip. Maybe it's from a further away restaurant, or maybe they're in a more rural marketplace, and they know generally it's harder to get a driver. But I think there is another side to this. I want to bring this to your attention. How many drivers, if this is happening, if you see this happening on an order, let me know down below in the comments. But how many customers are reducing that tip in part or in full for other reasons? Maybe it was from that further away restaurant, and maybe it was harder to get a driver assignment. So it took, let's say, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then the quoted ETA in these apps. Is it some actual service thing from either yourself as the driver or the restaurant? Was the food prepared poorly as far as presentation for their sushi platter, what have you? Or was there something that you actually did as a driver that showed that you weren't prepared? Did you try to multi-app and take another order on a different platform at the same time? Something that I don't recommend. Did they happen to see you out the window and you just kind of casually grabbed their food? You didn't have a hot and cold bag and you just kind of handled it roughly. So I want you to look at this order request and I want to show you what happened to me. So it was kind of a slow shift. So I accepted this one really solely for this payout, expected earnings, $7.64. Now I want to tell you a quick note here. If you're doing anything other than going from A to B, if there's unnecessary stops, or again, you're multi-apping with a different platform at the same time, something that you really shouldn't be doing, or again, any other delays, then it may be something that you're doing. But no, I just went A to B here, pick up to the drop off, and then I saw this after the delivery. So then I saw your earnings is now $4.19. Tips are available 1 hour after delivery since customers can change the amount until then. Because frankly, I wouldn't have accepted this one if it wasn't for the tip amount. We can see here, $4.19 for 3.8 miles. So after initially accepting that order, that $7+ order that I would define as a decent order request, it wasn't really stellar, but now at $4.19, it's really been downgraded to a poor order. So it looks like I was tip baited on Uber Eats. Or was I? Because surprisingly, about 45 minutes later, I got this. So here is the $7.64. Now this is quite different than other apps. So my staple app is DoorDash, over now 1,500 completed deliveries. And the problem with this is I see the earnings on DoorDash. I see the expected tip amount, but I'm paid that entire amount, the standard pay plus the tip, immediately after the service. So on this one, it looks like I was seemingly tip baited, but wasn't. Or was this a scenario where the customer had buyer's remorse and removed that tip just to re-add it after the delivery? Let me know down below. Now, if you were actually tip baited, so let's say this $7+ order, it stayed at that $4.19 after the delivery and there was no tip ever added, and you were shown the higher amount on the order request screen, what should you do? There's two things you can do if you're actually tip baited and that tip never comes in. Number one, you could probably think contact support. You can say, hey guys, I was shown $10 or whatever it was, and then after my service, and this is on Instacart or Uber Eats, and you say, hey, it was $10, and then after I completed it, it was $6, and I didn't do anything wrong. Now, if you plan on doing this, I just want to speak from my opinion here. If you reach out to support on any app, in my opinion, they're not going to reimburse you the rest of the amount. What they're most likely to do is say, thanks for the feedback. We'll make a note on this customer's profile, and if continued, we'll address it with the customer or time out their account or eventually deactivate the customer's account. That's most likely the response they're going to give you. Now, you can try it. Let us know if you've had success in getting the rest of the pay. But in my opinion, if you contact support about a potential tip bait, they're not going to pay you the rest of the amount. Option number two, it's the most practical, but maybe the hardest to hear. You're going to have to move on. You're just going to have to move on. Move on and get another order, start making some money. And like this one, this order, that tip didn't roll in for 45 minutes. I didn't contact support. I didn't try to, whatever, I don't know, get in touch with the customer here. I moved on to try to make some more money and just get my next order. So the overall verdict, is tip baiting actually happening? Is it happening and is it a problem? I mean, in my opinion, I would say yes. I've seen it reported from other drivers, again, in different driver communities. Now, do I think that it's especially prevalent, something that you really need to worry about, something that's going to really dig into your earnings? No. I think it's a fringe case, and that's really why I just want you to move on to your next order. Because again, if a customer is editing a tip and lowering that tip after the service, it may not always really be that they're just trying to game the system. Are there customers that know the system well enough and are actually doing that? Yes. Is it the majority in my opinion? No. So if you got value in this video, definitely drop me a like. And you can also click or tap the screen here for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next one.